So, being the week before Christmas, I thought I'd get into the Christmas spirit and watch one of the most well-known Christmas movies ever. Drum roll, please. Obviously, I built that up there, and you all know what it is because it's in the thumbnail and it's in the title of the video. But we're going to watch the 1984 classic Gremlins. However, when I went to watch it, I forgot it was a Christmas film, to be honest, and just kind of went to see it anyway because it was on at Christmas time. Didn't think anything of it. So it was a cold winter's night in Scotland, and we were bored, and we thought, oh, we'll go see what's on in the cinema. And we seen Wonka was on, and I was like, I'm not seeing that for a second time. So we eventually chose Gremlins. My girlfriend hadn't seen it, and I hadn't seen it since it was a childhood. So basically, I thought, I wonder if this is still going to hold up for what I remember it as a childhood. So basically, we'll get straight into it. The film opens up with a classic 80s intro, obviously, a bit of voiceover, just voices from the gods, basically. And we open up in Chinatown, and I will say when I was younger, I don't know why, but I just presumed it was China. I think it was just because in my head I was like, oh yeah, they're just not saying a Chinese town because, they don't want to say a Chinese town. I don't know what it was, but I just presumed it was in China. And I used to think it was really weird that you used to just call it a Chinatown. And then I realised it's because there is Chinatowns. So, obviously I wasn't the brightest as a child. We go into a really creepy shop that's down an alleyway, and I did think, not an alleyway, like a staircase, and I did think, I definitely wouldn't be going down to that staircase. If that was me, I'd have been like, nah, mate, I'm sorry, I'm just going to leave, I'll just go somewhere else. But he's obviously really needs to get this Christmas present for his Wayne. So basically, the dad goes in and tries to sell his wee device, because this is a big theme of the film, that the dad's selling devices. And whilst that's happening, he hears a wee noise in the background, and he's like, oh, what's that? And he goes and finds it, and he goes, oh, I've just got to have this, and it's Gizmo singing. And he takes it up to the front and goes, oh, I need that. And the guy's like, no, he's not for sale. And he's like, no, I need that. It's for my son. I need that. And, overall, I was just thinking, I was like, what if that was a family pet? He's just, trying to buy their family pet. And the guy's like, no, that's the dog. You're not getting the dog. We go next back into the main town of where Gremlins is set. I can't remember the name of it. It's funny, I did so much research for the video and I forgot to write the name of the town. I did think it looked a lot like Back to the Future, as in it looked like the same town as Back to the Future, and then I googled it and it's the exact same lot that Back to the Future was filmed on, so it's very highly probable it's the exact same buildings, the exact same sets, obviously they just kind of used the same thing at the time in the 80s. So we see Billy, the main character, his car's not working, then we're introduced to a very interesting character, who just seems to love everything American and hate everything that isn't American, but a lot. I don't know if that was a normal thing in the 80s, but to be fair, we all know some old people that are like that by now, and this is 2023, so nearly 2024. So obviously it can't even be excused for it at the time. We can't even say oh, it's a generational thing, because it's just wrong in general. So Dad comes home with Gizmo and gives Billy an early Christmas present. Basically, he sits down and all that, and then at this point the mum pulls out a camera. And at this point, they haven't discussed the rules or anything like that. He pulls out a camera, and then it's she goes to take the photo, and I would say there's a good 20 seconds, enough time where the dad could be like, oh, by the way, don't take a photo because the flash goes off, he's not allowed, and then he just starts he could state the rules, but then he just doesn't, and then he gets a photo taken. Obviously, Gizmo hates bright lights, runs over to the dad, starts hugging him, and then shaking and stuff like that, terrified for his life. And then basically the dad's like, oh, I forgot to say, he can't be touching water, don't feed him after midnight, and he can't see bright lights, he can't see, he could die if he goes into sunlight. And when I was younger, I've always thought, right, what's the cut-off point for midnight? Do you know, when can they feed them again in the morning? Is it 12 till 12 you can't feed them? Or is it until you wake up? Because what if you wake up at 5 one morning? Is that after midnight? Or does it actually just mean in the hour of midnight? I've always wondered. Never googled it. I like to just question that bit a wee bit. Then we shoot on to Billy showing a random child that delivers his tree, Gizmo. And obviously something goes wrong, because it's always something's going to go wrong to make the plot go further. But he gets water spilled on him. And Gizmo is writhing in pain, moving about. Honestly looks like he's in so much pain. And then stuff starts coming out his back, obviously, and this is the other Gizmo's Mogwais. And I was like, oh, Gizmo, whilst this is happening, is still writhing in pain. And Billy and the other Wayne are just well, what's happening over here? Is Gizmo's here? And he's screaming and screaming, and they're just oh, what's happening there? I was like, that's such bad owners. Like, this pet's in pain. I'm not gonna lie. If I had that animal, like a mogwai, and he was like writhing in pain, I wouldn't give what just flew out of him. I'd be like, oh, is he alright? But no, they're just bad owners apparently. Don't care. When we get to see the mogwai before they become gremlins, you could just call them cute arseholes, because they're just mean all round to everyone. Gizmo gets bullied, the dog gets bullied. Obviously we know this, the dad doesn't know this yet, but then like Billy goes down and says to his dad, and then his dad comes and sees him, and his dad's first thought isn't, oh, that's really cool. It's like, oh, we can sell these. Which, it just isn't the nicest thought ever, is it? It's like, oh, well, like, I know obviously when you breed dogs and stuff like that, your normal plan is to sell them, but it's like, I feel like your first thought shouldn't be, let's sell these, do you know what I mean? It should be like, oh, well, that's really nice, we've got this now, look after them, then we'll sell them. Then, after that, they're fed at midnight because they've decided to chew the cable on the clock, so Billy doesn't notice. He feeds them, and then in the morning they come in like a cocoon type thing, and it's called a pupil stage. That's what the movie says specifically. I'm not going to go if that's correct, I'm sure it is. So they hatch, and it's just the mum in the house, and obviously Billy phones them, and then is like, oh, on the phone to her, the thing gets ripped away. She hears noises coming from upstairs, and then she goes up and checks, and she sees the gremlins have like hatched, so she has seen the gremlins are hatched. May I add at this point, we've seen that one of the gremlins kill someone, but the mum hasn't seen this yet. So just bear in mind, this is just like, she knows nothing. She only knows that it was like a gizmo. It was like a mogwai before. And then she goes downstairs, the creatures are in the kitchen, and she's like, sees one like eating, and then her first thoughts turn on, like it's like a big mixing bowl of some sort, turns on, like she obviously, and then it obviously passes away, and then the other gremlins start like attacking her, and do you know what I just thought? I was like, what if that was just like the next stage of like the mogwai? It's like just really nice, it just looks a bit ugly, do you know what I mean? And she's just like, for no reason, do you know what I mean? So I do understand why the gremlins start like throwing things at her, and then she's acting like she's the victim. However, she takes out a couple of them with it. Like, she goes on like a wee score streak, like, you know what I mean? Takes out 4 of them or something like that. And then one of them like gets her back, to be fair, is a 1v1, and she loses because someone else comes in and takes it over. Stripe's the only one that survives this. He goes, and Billy goes looking for him, and basically Billy tries to stop him. He jumps in a pool. More gremlins, right? The town drops into chaos. And I'm actually not sure of how much I can show of this, because I don't know, they're very evil to say the least. They attack Santa. They send a woman through like the hot wire thing to shoot up the stairs, like a lift thing, and it shoots out the top window. And I did think, I was like feel like safety reasons they shouldn't just do that anyway. Like I feel like they should have a stop at the top. But obviously it's a movie, so we'll ignore that for the now. At one point, Billy's neighbour is just like mean to his wife. Is like the channels start changing on the thing without him doing it, and then he's like, "Oh, could you get off the remote?" Like he just like, he's really mean to her, and then she's like, "Oh no, it's you, darling. Like you're on the remote, not me." And he's like, and like starts changing channels. He's like, "It's not working." And I think he specifically comments about how it's not from the US again as well. I can't remember, but I think he does that. And then he goes outside. The area's all burnt, and then gremlins are in his plough, and then they plough him and his wife down, which I always say his wife didn't deserve it, but I'm not saying he deserved it. But whilst this is happening, Gizmo just decides to become really patriotic, and then just starts like waving his American flag about the place. I will say, I think Gizmo's just in his own wee world during this. The gremlins go into a bar, which is a very long scene of gremlins just being gremlins. All sorts of things happen. I'm sure you'll know that it's like a very iconic scene in it. At this point, we see Billy's love interest in the movie that we have seen before. I've just not commented on her. She basically, like, she's the one serving all the gremlins and stuff like that. And then she lights a match, and then one of them gets terrified because obviously it's light. And then she goes, "Oh, I'll get my camera and start taking photos of them." So she starts taking photos of them all, right? And I was like, to be honest, that make them less scarier for me, because you know what I mean. I've been flashed with a camera. Like, you close your eyes for a second, you're fine straight after it, but they're like out. They're gone, like, they haven't died, but they're like disabled for a while. So at that point I just knew I was better than a gremlin, even at the age of like 8 whenever I watched this. All the gremlins go see a movie because gremlins are gremlins, that's what they do. And then Billy and his love interests first logical conclusion is, do you know what we should do? Blow up the cinema. And I will say, whilst I was watching it, like, so I haven't watched it in years, so I don't remember most of it. And whilst I was watching it, I was like, watching like, I wonder what they're going to do here. I didn't know the first logical conclusion. I thought they were just going to like, turn on the lights or something like that. I wasn't sure. In no way that was my first logical conclusion that they were going to do is death to the cinema. Like, a gas explosion, let alone destroys the cinema, but it also creates more like issues elsewhere on the gas line, which obviously it's a movie, so we'll like suspend disbelief. During this, when they're trying to set up the explosion, basically Stripe goes, oh, I'm gonna go get like some popcorn. He leaves the cinema and there's no popcorn. He sees a candy sign, so he goes, oh, I'm gonna go get that candy. At this point, Billy and his love interest go over there and see that he's there, obviously try and stop it. Then we just go on a montage of Gizmo living his American dream, just driving about in his wee Barbie car, and you do just think, I don't know what Gizmo was doing during this film, but he seems to be living life. Whilst this is happening, Billy is getting absolutely battered by Stripe. Stripe shoots him with a crossbow, like, in his arm. He gets, like, knocked over, he goes into, like a shelving unit type thing in this store. And then Billy couldn't move, even though he should be able to, because, like, what happened to him? I was like, I think anyone still could get back up. Like, in movies, you see people falling from heights, you go, they wouldn't have made that, but it's like a movie, so you're like, obviously they're going to get back up. But then I was like, I feel like he should have been able to get back up from this one. And then Stripe whips out a chainsaw, and then runs over to Billy and starts, like, attacking him with it. Billy grabs a wooden baseball bat, holds it up, and then it stops Stripe getting through, like, to him, right? Yeah, it's fair enough. At the time, I even thought, oh, it's maybe a metal one at the time whilst I was watching it, because I haven't watched it in ages. I even thought, oh, maybe it's a metal one. And then it's like, the next shot, you see, like, the wood getting chipped, but it's, like, not that deep. It's probably, like, that much off it. And it just keeps getting chipped. And I just thought to myself at this point, I was like, the writers being, like, such good writers, they should have really known what the one job of a chainsaw is, and it's to cut through wood effortlessly. Well, not effortlessly, but a bit easier. Like, I feel like it should have, like, easily went through a baseball bat, because it just should have, like, nothing more than that. But obviously we need to suspend disbelief again. Billy gets away because Stripe gets dragged away because the cable gets unplugged for his chainsaw. He gets taken away. Billy gets away, and during this, Gizmo's still driving about, and then just goes like that, I'm doing nothing anyway. I may as well save the day. Drives about, sees that there's like a blind that he can open because it's daytime now, and jumps a shovel, and then just like lands it, and then hurts himself, but then off it, like jumps like a good 3 feet or something like that to pull down this cord. He pulls down this cord. That's the end of Stripe. And you just think, I was like, Gizmo, that's a bit embarrassing for Billy. Gizmo's just saved the day when he was living his American dream. Then we go back to the house, and at this point, the man that the dad bought Gizmo off of comes in and takes Gizmo away. And when I was younger, I used to think, I was like, that's really mean. Like, Gizmo and Billy have bonded. They're friends now. And I was like, if that happened to me, I'd be devastated. Now that I've seen it as an adult, I realise that Billy was not a good owner at all. He literally did everything he wasn't supposed to. And it's like, if you did that to a dog, you'd have the dog taken off you after the first act. Like, do you know what I mean? You'd be like, no, that's just not it. I'd just say he's very irresponsible. And obviously basically the guy goes, oh, maybe you'll be eventually ready for him. And I'm like, no, he's the one that wasn't ready for him. None of them are ready for him. But then obviously Gizmo's like, bye Billy, and then he leaves. So that's my small chat about Gremlins on. And I just think that it's a good film, right? It's a really good film. But I don't think it held up as much as I thought it would when I was a child. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember really enjoying Gremlins as a Wayne. But now, like, as I'm older, I've went, oh, it's a good film, but I was like, it's not as good as I remember it. But obviously there's a bit of nostalgia and stuff like that with it. Like, maybe I'm just a bit too old for it now to appreciate it in the way that I should have. Maybe I should have watched it again before. Maybe I should have watched it when I was in my teens, before I came to my 20s now. I really enjoyed it. If I had to rate it, I would rate the film 3 Gizmos out of 2. That's a good rating. My girlfriend thought it was boring. I'll just leave that at that. And, well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know your opinion on Gremlins down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you.